Hey everybody, welcome to Josh Dell'Aria's Musical Escapades. My name's Josh Dell'Aria, and today I want to take a little break from the news. You know, sometimes the news can get really depressing and kind of irritating. And sometimes, I guess, when you listen to too many news from me, I guess that can get a little old and not so much fun either. So I'm going to take a little break from all the new songs that I've been playing you guys and go back to the olds a little bit. So in doing so, I wanted to point out one of the artists that I got a chance to see. Actually, he came to my college while I was there. A guy by the name of Chris Ayer, and obviously he's not very well known, but when I got to see him in college, I thought he was really awesome. I really liked his vocabulary, his voice, and his musicality. I thought they were all awesome. It's funny because I actually impulse bought his album right at the end of that concert. It was really one of the first things I ever impulse bought. It did lead me to discover that Chris was going to release a new album in 2013. I guess it's not new now, but it was new back then, obviously. Called The Noise, and I ended up getting his song Hiding Place from that album, and it rode all the way up to number 10 in 2013, which number 10 in a year like 2013 is pretty freaking awesome. I'm trying to think of an artist that I can compare Chris Ayer's voice to, but I probably couldn't without trashing some modern pop band. So I guess the best I can tell you is if you guys saw my video on the Punch Brothers, and you guys heard their lead singer, Chris Thiele, Chris Ayer's voice sounds kind of similar to his, especially in pitch and tone, that type of thing. Hopefully that helps and you can enjoy this wonderful song, Hiding Place.
This is not a place to hold despair. A rubber band to tie around your long brown hair. The source of all your powers, clock to count the hours. But when you guess I left, this one will still be there. You are not responsible for why. You know it in the morning and it's gone by night. It comes to you in sleep, but less and less each week. Like a language you forget the more you write. I think it hides somewhere out of sight, waiting for you patiently when you need to be reminded to unwind. You got wrapped around so tight, it's the one thing you don't talk about. A learning time to live without it, all the while hoping you'll find me wherever you've been hiding. Late last night you had that dream again, where the whole world rolled on top of you and you caved in. It made you feel so small. You kicked my bedroom wall and you said you'd like to know where your friend Freedom went. I think it hides somewhere out of sight, waiting for you patiently when you need to be reminded to unwind. You got wrapped around so tight, it's the one thing you don't talk about. You're learning time to live without it, all the while hoping you'll find me wherever you've been hiding. I got lost on the way out to Chicago. Rode the oldest coaster in the world. My car, it hit 100,000 miles by Indiana. And I thought of you as I watched the nines all turn. For now I hide somewhere out of sight, waiting for you patiently, and I'm trying not to try. I can't unwind. We got wrapped around so tight, it's the one thing we don't talk about. We're learning time to live without it, all the while hoping you'll find me wherever we've been hiding. If it's true I'll be waiting. This is not a place to hold despair. A rubber band to tie around your long brown hair. The source of all your powers, a clock to count the hours. But when your guests have left, this one will still be there.
Alright, so as per usual, I will start from the start. And the thing I wanted to point out was Chris Ayer uses this phrase, long brown hair, in the verse. Now, this is actually what tells me that this is probably about a real person, because I think if it were just about a certain type of person, Chris would have used long blonde hair in the verse, because it rhymes better. So I think the fact that he did not use it, I think he did that on purpose, because he was talking about an actual person in life. And I'm not saying that that makes the song better or worse necessarily, but hopefully it gives you a little bit more insight into what the song is truly about. So really from the beginning of this song up through the end of the first chorus, all the instruments are very quiet, and Chris's voice is very quiet, and then they all start ramping up right as that first chorus is ending, and it produces this sound.
Hiding.
So yeah, it makes it obviously sound a lot different when the next verse comes in. Yeah, thanks, Captain Obvious Josh. We knew that already. Yes, but let me tell you something you probably didn't realize. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the first two lines of the first verse, and then the second half of the first verse as well, those first two lines. And after that, I'm going to play the first two lines of the second verse, and see if you think they sound similar.
This is not a place to hold despair. A rubber band to tie around your long brown hair. You are not responsible for why. You know it in the morning and it's gone by night.
Okay, now from here, I'm going to go ahead and play those first two lines of the second verse. And again, just think about how they sound to you.
Last night you had that dream again, where the whole world rolled on top of you and you caved in.
Yeah, do those sound pretty different to you? Because they sounded pretty different to me for the most part. But here's the thing, right? The way that Chris has the music set up in the background makes it sound different. But the rhythm is actually very similar. Listen here, so let me go ahead and play these verses for you again. And I'm actually going to try to sync up a clapping noise in the background to try to clap out the rhythm, essentially, that Chris is getting at. And see how similar they sound to you. So here's the first part of that first verse.
A rubber band tie around your long brown hair.
And the second part of the first verse.
You know it in the morning and it's gone by night.
Now here's the second verse.
Where the whole world rolled on top of you and you caved in.
So the rhythms of the lines are actually pretty similar, but what makes it sound different is the background instruments, and them being different in the background actually makes those lines sound very different. And also, Chris's emphasis of the words caved in makes those last two kind of pop out, those last two syllables pop out, whereas they didn't in the first verse in each of those two lines, because they were just kind of part of the flow. But with Chris bringing them out, with all the instruments in the background and all those different things going on in the background, it makes them sound so different that you barely notice that they're very similar rhythms. Okay, so I have to talk about this bridge because it is excellent.
Hiding. I got lost on the way out to Chicago. Rode the oldest coaster in the world. My car, it hit 100,000 miles by Indiana. And I thought of you as I watched the nines all turn.
See, the thing about bridges is that a bridge is kind of like the climax to a book. So, like in the beginning of the book, you have the plot, you have the characters starting to develop, the setting, you get introduced to the setting right at the beginning, and then the plot starts to kind of thicken as the book goes on, and then when you get to the climax, that's where the action happens. And it's the same thing in the bridge of a song. So, like at the beginning of the song, the verses of the chorus, you kind of get a sense of the meaning of the song, but the bridge is where you should get that deepest meaning, the most powerful thoughts of the song. And so I think Chris does a great job both in the lyrics in doing that and also in the instruments as well. See, the beauty of these lyrics here is that Chris is actually bringing out the fact that this person has gotten so far away from this other person that he's trying to forget her so much, but even as far as possible away, he still remembers that lady and still has an attachment to her. And the instruments remain loud and kind of booming as this person's still trying to get his former girlfriend or whoever person it was out of his head. But right at that moment of him remembering his other person, the music just completely cuts out and gets super quiet. And I thought that was spectacular, the way that Chris Ayer did that. Now, I'll tell you, this final chorus is actually pretty good. I think it's hard to really write a final chorus that's different from all the other choruses, because you have to change the words, but you can't change them too much. But if you change them in the wrong way, it doesn't sound right or anything like that. So it's hard. So I usually advise against doing something like this, but I think Chris Ayer makes it turn out pretty well.
For now I hide somewhere out of sight, waiting for you patiently, and I'm trying not to try. I can't unwind. We got wrapped around so tight. It's the one thing we don't talk about. We're learning time to live without it, all the while hoping you find me wherever we've been hiding.
And then it's the same from there, pretty much. So, it's not too bad. I think Chris Ayer is actually pretty good at writing some decent final choruses. I think this one kind of makes a good and different point, slightly different than what the rest of the song has been talking about. Now, from there, he goes into this line of, "If it's true, I'll be waiting there for you." And he repeats that 4 times. And I'm not sure that that's the best decision. I know that by repeating that line, he's trying to ingrain that in somebody's head, trying to kind of beat somebody over the head with it. I know it is an important line, but at the same time, I think if he used some other words to describe that sentiment, it would have come across better. Nonetheless, I think that that's really one of the few weaknesses, probably actually the only weakness in a song like this, where pretty much everything else is done excellently. So I really think it's a great song from Chris Ayer, and obviously you can tell from it making the top 20 that it really deserved that position. So that's all I got on this song for you guys. I really appreciate you watching. If you do like Chris Ayer's music, you can go and check him out at chrisayermusic.com. And I will link to as many of the socials as I can in the description. And if you guys like what we do here, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. You can visit us on our Facebook page as well at facebook.com/JoshD'sMusicalEscapades. You can see top 20 lists like this under the notes section. And so if you want to write top 20 songs like this one, that's a good place to look. So I'm also thinking about making a video of all my thoughts on all the songs that I've heard from 2018 thus far in another video. So I don't want to miss anything that you guys would love. So if you guys know anybody who has released a full album in 2018, including yourself, make sure you either put it in the comments or you can send it to me by an email at joshdell'Ariasmusicalescapades@gmail.com, or you can send me a Facebook message as well. Again, thank you all for watching, and until next time, go make great music.